Some of our students have taken dirty, smelly houses to a whole new level. Greg and his business partners, Mel, Quinton and Tanya, found a distressed property in the leafy yet popular suburb of Linden in Johannesburg. The area is littered with trendy restaurants, pubs, shops and good schools. Now hold your breath as we go on site to check out the gem that they've discovered. Greg Lyson, certainly no stranger to the show. Once again, thank you for making time for us.
Hey, how's it going, Quizzle?
Good stuff. A distressed property in an upmarket suburb like Linden. I mean, how did you find it, or did it just stick out like a sore thumb?
It did stick out like a sore thumb to me. I've been driving this route to work for the past 6 years, and I've been noticing this property. I've been mind powering it into my name. Eventually, I saw it was distressed. Obviously, there was nobody living here. I jumped over the wall. I kind of knocked on the door to see if anyone was home. No one was home. Eventually, a guy came wandering out of the back room, and I asked him what's happening with the property. He kind of just told me that it was a deceased estate. The old lady was living here, passed away a few months prior. So I asked him, how can I get hold of the attorneys who's dealing with the estate? And luckily, he told me the attorney was actually across the road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I went to go see him. He told me in the next 2 or 3 months, he'll be opening the property for viewing.
And was there a lot of red tape in eventually, getting to where we are today?
The red tape was minimal. I don't think the attorney advertised the property at all. So I think there was 4 or 5 of us that bid on the property.
Okay.
We just put in an offer. We didn't even bid. It wasn't an auction. Ours was the highest offer. He sent us the transfer documents and we were away with it.
How did you know it was worth a crack? Did you come in, look at the property? What convinced you?
I didn't even care what the property looked like. I was convinced that this is Linden. It's as you said, quite an upmarket area. The value of the land is worth more than what we offered. So we checked out the neighbouring properties, saw where they last sold at, got a vibe for what property value is going for in the area, and put in an offer according to that.
You mentioned that some of the applications were rejected by certain banks. What were the issues that they had?
Yeah, so when the evaluators came in, they noticed the structural damage to the property. In one of the rooms, there's a massive structural crack, which is caused by a tree that's grown right next to the boundary of the property, that the roots have actually gone under into the foundation and pushed the foundation up, which has caused this crack in the wall. So the banks see that as a risk for them investing in the property. Yeah. So that was the main one. I think it was that, and obviously the deceased estate. It's stinky, it's dirty, it's smelly, it's dusty. There's cobwebs and spiders everywhere. People don't really. They don't see the value in the property. They don't see past that.
This is the first load of rubbish that's come out of this deceased estate property. There's probably at least another 2 of these to go.
Also, some guys tried to break in a few months ago. They had removed some ceiling tiles. So obviously we're in summer now, the rains had come down, ruined the ceiling boards. The floor was all wet, so that damp smell comes across. So the banks were also worried about the integrity of the roof. So based on those 2 things, they ended up denying us after saying yes.
Oh, no.
They came and evaluated and said, sorry guys, it's a no-go.
As you can see behind me, there's a massive gaping hole in the ceiling board. When the first bank evaluator came, he was not impressed with this. He obviously was concerned about the structural integrity of the trussing and the roof, etc. It just looks like there's been a lot of leaks and for a long time. So based on that and the humongous structural damage in the wall behind me that you can see, they denied our bond application.
What we've been doing in the meantime is fixing up some of the damage to the property just to get a better overall feel for the evaluators when they come in. We've taken all the ceiling boards down. We've had a roofing expert come and have a look at the beams in the roof, and he's given us the go-ahead. So we actually got a letter from him stating that the roof is in great condition. We had an architect come out and advise us what was happening. He was pretty much told us we got to get rid of the tree because the roots are coming under and destroying the structure. We got a letter from him also stating exactly what I just told you and how we are going to fix it. When the second bank came, we gave him this letter from the architect and from the roofing guy, just explaining that we've got it all covered and we know how to fix it and we're busy fixing it.
So all these minor things that you need to be fixing, eating into the business kitty, or are you looking at the bigger picture?
It is eating into the business kitty a little bit, but the picture is a lot bigger. So we are taking a risk in investing in the property before it's even ours. So what we're going to do is divide the house into 2 separate living areas. And then there's a cottage at the back that we're also going to divide into 2 one-bedroom places. So we're going to kind of turn it into an HMO for about a year while we're getting our rezoning and our plans passed. But the bigger picture is demolishing it and building 4 units.
So what is your exit strategy since the risk is so high?
As opposed to building the 4 units, we were thinking about, as I said, we're going to fix it up for the first year just while we get the rezoning and stuff. If the rezoning and everything doesn't come through, one of our exit strategies would just be to flip it as it is. Our neighbor's house went for 2.7 million a couple of years ago. We bought it for 1 million. If we spend 300,000 on it, we're still in for a profit of, 900,000.
Some people are not as confrontational as others, and you might find people squatting on these distressed properties. How would you go about handling it?
We do have someone staying in the back room. He's kind of keeping an eye over the place while we're not here, while we're going to be doing the renovations. So we're kind of happy to let him stay there while everything's going through. The lawyer has advised me that he is happy to move out upon final signature. So in the bigger picture, it is going to be worth it. Even though we're spending a little bit of money on the property at first before it's ours, hopefully the bank lives up to their word and gives us the bond once they've seen that we've fixed the structural damage. We've spoken to the lawyer. He's okay with us working on the property before it's ours, and he's assured us that nothing serious is going to happen to the property in the next couple of weeks if we get our act together.
You guys are really brave in taking all this action. I wish you all the best on your journey and, of course, uprooting that tree.
Thank you very much, Kotsol.
For winners, losing inspires them. For losers, losing defeats them. Let's head back to London to chat to Greg, who along with his business partners are certainly winners. After numerous unforeseen setbacks that would have seen the average Joe run for the hills, Greg still remains committed to seeing the project through.
Wow, Greg, we're back here in London. Finally, the bank is on your side. You must be a relieved man.
Yeah, Kotsol, really, really relieved. We're relieved, the transferring lawyer is relieved, everyone's relieved. It's a fantastic feeling to have that we finally own this property that we've been working so hard on.
But it must have been a big scare for you, considering the amount of money that was pumped into this project.
Yeah, it was terrifying, to be honest. But luckily, with continuous conversation with the transferring attorney, we were kind of put at ease by his words, saying, it's okay, guys, we understand what you guys are going through. We understand that the banks aren't willing to give you guys a bond because of the state of the house, because of the structural damage and the roofing and everything. So he kind of understood where we were coming from. It's not like we were trying to trick him or anything. We involved him in everything, in all the letters and everything we received from the banks. He had a copy of them. So it was just good communication between us and him.
Well, just take us through the journey, because I remember the last time I was here, there was a wall. Now, the kitchen and lounge are almost connected as one. Just tell us some of the subtle changes that you had to make in order to get the bank on your side.
Well, it's still from the structural damage and getting rid of the tree, which was causing the structural damage, fixing the roof, and just tidying up a little bit. This place was super dusty, it was gross, it smelled damp, so it was getting rid of the smells. When Standard Bank and Absa came, they saw this property in its complete distressed estate, with the structural damage, with the holes in the ceiling and the roof and everything, and leaking and smelling. When F&B came, we had done a lot of renovations. The walls were patched, the tree was gone, the roof was done, half of the ceiling boards were out and new ones were already put in. So they came and they saw this property that looked fantastic. Well, not quite fantastic, but for us it was a lot better than it was when we originally put in our offer. So F&B came back to us with an offer straight away. They actually gave us more than we asked for. They gave us 950, we only asked for 900. So we accepted that offer and here we are.
Were there any other curveballs in the mix, apart from the tree and of course the wall and other issues that you've already touched on?
Luckily, the evaluators aren't that thorough, so the roots had actually grown through the old plumbing lines. We've actually dug all of those up. We're in the process of replacing all those pipes and putting in the new toilets and sinks and stuff. So that was the main curveball after we sorted out the structural damage.
Greg, what kind of cost implications are you looking at in terms of fixing up this place, particularly budgeting-wise? What have you budgeted for and what haven't you budgeted for?
I mean, I don't know if you guys remember our insert last month where I was in front of the skip and I said we had just filled our first skip and we got 2 more to go roughly.
Yeah.
We're on our 6th or 7th skip at the moment, so that's adding up. Landscaping, we got a quote for about 15,000 Rand. Our perimeter wall, that's going to be about 30,000 Rand. Electricity, well, because we've got 4 units here, we're gonna meter each unit separately for the rentals for the year before we get our planning permissions, etc.
Yeah.
With new wiring, new plug points and switches, that's going to cost us about 28,000 Rand. Painting, that's another 10 grand. Bricklaying and plastering to finish off the units at the back, that's probably another 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Plumbing costs, that's probably going to cost us about 10 or 12. We're not quite sure yet. Still getting quotes for sinks, toilets, showers.
You told me that you were learning along the way. What were the key major learning points in terms of acquiring this distressed property?
I think it's in terms of getting the bond and the bank happy.
Yeah.
In terms of buying a distressed property.
Yeah.
So the banks came here and they just weren't interested in giving us any money. It was too much of a risk for them.
Yeah.
Whereas F&B came here and we had fixed it up and they didn't ask any questions. They gave us a bond straight away.
Yeah.
If you have the ability to get a bit of bridging finance before you get your bond to invest in the property, it definitely pays off to fix up the obvious damage.
Now that the banks are on your side, are you incurring all the costs, water, lights, etc.?
Funny thing, because it took us 3 months to get the banks to approve our bond, we've been renovating and doing all the things we would have had to do even if we got the bond on day one. So we haven't paid a cent. So we've saved about 45,000 Rand in holding costs by delaying the transfer.
Yeah.
Our deadline to get the units ready is the end of next month, so we've got about 6 weeks to go, as opposed to probably taking about 3 months if we had got the bond together. So we'll be getting a rental income within 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Effectively, we should only have 1 month's holding costs.
Now that you're breathing a sigh of relief, the banks are on your side, where to from here?
As I said before, the perimeter wall is going to be going up next week. Simultaneously, we're going to be working on the interiors. The electrician's going to come in and install all the plug points. The plumbers are in next week. It's going to be awesome here. I mean, we need to get everything done as quickly as possible now to limit our holding costs.
What kind of finishes are you looking at? Are you going to be bringing in an interior decorator? Who's going to be picking the paint?
From our training, we know the BMW strategy. It's pretty straightforward. B, beige or light flooring. M, magnolia paint for the walls, which is also a very light color. Macro builders, any hardware has it.
Okay.
And W would be the white ceilings.
Yeah.
So we have our strategy set out like that. We're not going to get too emotionally involved in the project.
Greg, this place has certainly come a long way. I remember the first time we came here, it looked like a jungle out there, and you've made some tremendous strides in fixing it up. And hopefully once it's all done, you'll be inviting us back to see the place.
For sure, Kotso. In 6 weeks' time, hopefully you come back here and interview me and this place will be completely finished. But I just want to say, in terms of getting this place together, the biggest lesson I've learned is taking action.
Sure.
I mean, I've had people drive past here saying, I can't believe I didn't put in a bid for this property. I've been driving past it the whole time, this is Shiz's place. But yeah, it's taking action. She's got us to where we are today. A little bit hair-raising, but fantastic. It's going to work out perfectly.
Great stuff, Greg. Thanks.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for joining us on The Property Apprentice.
Hey, how's it going, Kotso?
Greg, the last time we spoke to you, the bank had just given you the thumbs up. This place looked like a mini forest, but a lot has happened since then. Want to take us through that?
For sure. Yeah, as you can see, the forest is no more.
Yeah.
But let's backtrack a bit. I think where we left off last time was the plumbing.
Yeah.
So since then, we've had our plumber in. He's finished replacing all of the pipes. He's put new geysers in. The roofing guy has come in, Stephen. He's fixed all the leaks for our cottages.
Yeah.
He's replaced some of the zinc sheets on the cottages.
Yeah.
He's finished replacing all the ceiling boards in the main house. We had our electrician Tana come in. He's replaced all the cables. He's put new plug points in, new light switches. and fittings. He's also replaced all the DB boards, so now each unit has its own dedicated DB board, so we can meter them separately. Before we started building our wall, we had to get rid of all the trees, as a lot of them were in the way of the wall, especially for the foundation of the wall. So,
How easy or difficult was that job?
yeah, that was ridiculously difficult. I mean, chopping down, I think it was about a 30-meter high fir tree.
Yeah.
It came down into the road,
Oh no.
literally behind me.
Just take us through after that period of having to clear out all the trees and.
Yeah, so as soon as the trees were all chopped up, then the wall began.
Yeah.
I think we budgeted 30,000 Rand for the wall. It was a lot more expensive, more like 130,000 Rand.
Geez. Did you bring in a professional to consult on the wall?
For sure. So yeah, there are some regulations regarding boundary walls that we didn't know about. So luckily we chatted to Alan, our architect, about that first. He took us through what the specs are of a boundary wall, how big the pillars need to be, how far away each pillar is spaced from each other. I mean, even the builders were blown away by the size of the pillars that we had to put in and the amount of them, especially because eventually we are going to subdivide this. So we had to make sure our wall was definitely up to spec.
Were there extras added to this wall that you guys didn't perhaps forecast?
Yeah, so in that 130 obviously is the electric fence, which is about 20 grand. Our gate that we're having specially made is going to be another 20, plus the motor, another 5, or 7 actually.
Jeez.
So the 130 kind of added it all up quickly, but regardless of what the cost was, it had to happen. In the bigger picture, it's totally worth it anyway.
Greg, the last time we spoke, I remember on the other side of the house, it was a garage, but it looks like a unit is erected there. Want to take us through that bit?
So Alan kind of looked over the plans of the property, and straight away he saw we need to divide that into 2 units, which worked out fantastically. It was really minimal building, minimal work for us. We added on a bathroom to each unit, and that was it really.
And in the main house, what are the changes there?
Yeah, the main house needs a little bit more work.
Yeah.
Also, obviously it's a bit bigger, so we need to do a bit of tiling in there too. We've got lovely parquet flooring in there, so obviously sanding it down and sealing it again.
It's partitioned. The last time I was here, it was just an open wall. And you want to tell me what's going on there? How is it shaped? What's the thinking behind it?
So our plan, Alan's plan was to turn this place into 4 one-bedroom units.
Yeah.
So as I spoke to you earlier about the 2 behind the house, those are 2 little bachelor flats. The ones in the house are a lot bigger. They have their own separate bedrooms, and then it's a lounge kitchen area.
Oh, okay. And the garden and the parking areas, how's that going to work?
Yeah, we're actually sitting in the parking area at the moment. This is it. We've just ordered a bunch of clay stock bricks that are going to be coming in. We're going to be using that to pave the driveway. The reason being is we don't want to throw concrete or anything, as in a year's time, once we get our rezoning for our development, we're going to have to just take that up anyway.
Yeah.
So we're thinking green, use some clay stock bricks to pave with, and then we can bring them up and use them in our build. For the parking, we're just going to throw gravel.
Are you going to partition sections for each unit, or how's that going to work?
Each unit will have their own garden space, their own little entertainment area.
As somebody who's recently got into property investing, I'm sure you've learned quite a bit on this journey.
I have learned so much. It's actually unbelievable what you learn just being on site every day and seeing what the guys are doing and just watching the plumbers and watching the electricians.
Just take us through the importance of having a power team.
Alan, he saw this property and straight away he saw the 4 units. We wouldn't have had the vision to do that, firstly. Secondly, it's a time thing. So having to do everything ourselves would have taken forever. This wall, for example, went up in about 4 days. They came in with about 12 guys. It was incredible. Once again, the plumbers and the electricians, they just come in and they get on with it. They're professionals, they know their job. It's really not worth me or you trying to do it to save a buck, because in the long run, it's going to cost us more money in loss of rentals, holding costs, mistakes.
When are you inviting us over for a braai in that entertainment area when this is done?
Yeah, so I think last time I told you 6 weeks. It's at least 6 weeks later now, and still not quite there. I think it's quite a misconception people have on how quick this actually should take. And you always run into little problems on the way.
Give us a date, Greg.
We're looking to have tenants in on the 1st of July.
1st of July.
1st of July. So, Yeah, how about the 31st of June?
31st of June. All right, I'll
Yeah.
take you up on that, Greg.
Okay.
But thank you so much for sharing your experience and just reminding us how important it is for property investors that to have a power team around them.
For sure, essential. Hands down, can't do without them.
And see you on the 31st of June.
I'll see you then, I'll bring the steak.
The smelly, dirty house in Linden is not smelly and dirty anymore as Greg and his partners enter the final stages of the refurb. The letting agent has been called in and it's time for the tenants to take occupation. Come with me as we chat numbers with Greg and see how the final figures tally up. Hi Greg, it seems like a lot has happened since the last time we were here. Want to take us through what's been happening over the past month?
Yeah, Koto. So since I last saw you, we have installed all the grass, which just made a huge difference. I mean, before it was just a dust bowl, so that just made a massive difference in aesthetics. We painted the outside of the house, tiling the kitchens, tiling the bathrooms. We finished sanding the wooden floors in the rest of the house. So yeah, it's looking pretty spiffy in there.
Greg, will you still be able to make enough money from the rentals? I mean, bearing in mind that you're still going to smash this baby down and you've put a little bit of renovations on it.
In the main house, we have 2 units, which each are going to go for around 7,000 Rand, hopefully. And then at the back there, we've got 2 units, which will go for about 4,000 Rand each. That's a combined rental income of 22,000 Rand. Our bond at the moment is 9,500 Rand per month. So that will give us a profit of 12,500 Rand per month. So we've spent 500,000 Rand on renovations and fees. 180,000 Rand of that we would have had to spend on the development anyway. So that was a cost that we couldn't avoid. 163,000 of that went to the deposit for the property fees, company registration costs, etc. And the remaining 150,000 Rand was what we needed to spend on the property to get it rented. Over 14 months of rentals, that'll be a profit of around 23,000 Rand. So it's not much of a profit, but doing it this way, we'll be able to get the bank in to revalue the property and refinance it, meaning we'll be able to pull our money that we've invested in out and maybe go look for a capital flip or something else.
So have you guys thought of other streams of income to help you boost these profits?
Yeah, actually, because this property is on a main road, well, a really busy road, there's a lot of traffic that goes past just behind me. So we've looked into wall advertising.
Yeah.
We figured that we could probably get about 3 big adverts on our wall, and they go for roughly about 5,000 Rand each. And because Linden is an up-and-coming area, there are a lot of small businesses, restaurants, shops, etc. that would hopefully be looking for advertising space on a busy road. So that'll give us a combined income we're hoping for about 10 to 15,000 Rand.
Yeah. If you'd left this place as it was and didn't do any renovations and paid your bond like a good citizen should while you wait for your building approval to happen, how would this have affected your figures?
If we had have left this property in its dilapidated state, we would have spent around 130,000 Rand over the 14 months that it would take for the planning permission to get approved and all of that from council. And that's hoping for the best. So we figured to play it safe, we'll rent it out. Even if it takes 16 months or 18 months, we'll continue making a profit on the property. So it's kind of an exit strategy in a way.
Greg, right now the renovations are in full swing. Around the corner, tenants are going to be coming in. There's a bigger picture. Just take us through that.
So obviously our development is our in plan. We're about to submit our plans to council for 6 duplex units. We're going on a building cost of around 6,500 Rand per square meter and a selling cost of 16,000 Rand per square meter. Hopefully in the next 2 years that selling cost will increase greatly as there's a Crawford College school that's opening up about 1 kilometer away, and hopefully that'll bring all the rich parents to the area. So our building costs are around 3.9 million for the 6 units. That's professional fees, subdivision, rezoning, structural engineers, etc. That'll take us up to about an estimate of around 5 million. So we're hoping to sell for 9.6 million. That's at 16,000 Rand a square meter. So that's an estimated profit of 3.6 million, taking our bond off of that equation.
Greg, you've been carrying these building plans around. Are you an architect? What's happening? What's the story behind this?
These were just some options of development ideas that we got from him. Estimated sales figures, building prices, units. Because initially our brief to Alan was we wanted 4 or 5 double-story units with a single story on top of those.
Oh, yeah.
So that would have been around 10 units. But with Alan going through all the dimensions of the property and parking space, etc., we've decided on just doing 6 duplexes. That way around, our profits at the end of it were at a maximum, and there was enough space for parking and storage, etc.
I know you've been watching The Property Apprentice. Have you learned a thing or two from Mike's mistakes?
We've been learning from Mike's mistakes and his developments, so thanks, Mike. We're definitely going to do our homework with the sewerage and the water infrastructure and all of that before the development gets going in the next 12 or 14 months. We'll have that all figured out, hopefully.
Greg, the place looks absolutely amazing, and the figures are also very, very, very good indeed. And hopefully we'll get tenants in sooner rather than later.
Awesome.